Hi everyone, my name is Mickiewicz. I'm the co-founder of a couple of different online companies. The first company I started when I was in high school, it's called SitePoint.com, which is an online magazine for developers and designers. And over the last 12 years out of that business, we've spun out two other businesses. One is called 99 Designs, which is a marketplace for crowdsourced graphic design. And the second business is Flippa.com, which over the past 2 years has become the go-to place for buying and selling established websites. So my topic today is buying and selling established websites for profit. It's a really emerging industry. It's very young. Not many people are doing it. The valuations for buying websites are very, very attractive. And anyone in the internet marketing or affiliate niche can really benefit from knowing about buying websites as a traffic acquisition channel as opposed to just doing SEO or buying pay-per-click traffic or building email lists. So why buy websites? A couple different reasons. First and foremost, there's revenue yield. When you're buying a website, you're buying an established business. Most of the time, that business includes ongoing revenue. Second reason to buy websites is capital growth. You can buy a website for $2,000. You can spend months and months collecting a paycheck from different affiliate programs or ad networks. And then when you're done with it, you can actually go out to the open market and sell that business, oftentimes for much more than you bought it for initially. There's fantastic opportunities around buying websites, improving them, collecting a paycheck in the meantime, and then putting them back out there on the marketplace and making a nice profit. Buying established websites can also be a fantastic way to generate traffic, as opposed to just buying purely pay-per-click traffic or doing SEO or doing JV partnerships. And finally, people also buy websites for search engine optimization, because oftentimes when you're buying a domain name, you're getting lots of inbound links to that domain name, you're getting fresh original content, so on and so forth. So when you're buying an existing business, the valuations right now are very, very attractive. The majority of websites sell for less than 2 years worth of revenue, and many, many websites sell for less than 6 months revenue. And later on in my presentation, I'm going to go into some case studies showing you some of the absolutely fantastic bargains that can be had if you're willing to put in the time and effort into finding them. The other good thing about buying websites as opposed to speculating in domain names is you're actually buying yield. Domain names are really hard to resell. If you look at the domain name marketplaces such as Moniker.com, Great Domains, Cedo, Afternic, all those, you'll see that they have millions and millions of domain names listed for sale at any given point in time. However, the vast majority of those domain names go unsold in any given month because they're really, really hard to value. How much is a domain name worth? It's entirely up to the buyer. There's no real clear valuation metrics. That's completely different from the website space. On Flippa.com, for example, we have a 57% sell-through rate, meaning that 57% of all auctions end with a bid above the reserve price within 30 days, which is completely different from speculating in domain names where you might never be able to find a buyer for your investment. Capital growth. Most of the people in this room are obviously quite good at affiliate marketing, monetization, SEO, etc. There's huge opportunities around increasing the value of a website that you buy by making simple and easy fixes to the site. You'd be amazed at some of the low-hanging fruit that pops up on Flippa and other marketplaces. People just have no idea how to make money online. They got lucky, they built a good website, they built a following, they created fantastic content about something that they're passionate about, but they've never been to a conference like this. So when it comes to SEO or different ad networks or monetization models, they have no clue. And many times I've seen case studies where someone buys a website and within 30 days, they've doubled the monthly revenue, which is absolutely fantastic. And you can't really do that with domain name acquisitions. Traffic generation is another really, really big reason for buying websites. At this conference, we've heard about email marketing, PPC, SEO, all these other methods for getting traffic, but buying websites is another really effective method. When you're buying a website, you're essentially buying an audience. If you're spending $2,000 on Google at 20 cents a click, you might get 10,000 visitors, and that's it. Your $2,000 is gone. You don't get any more traffic, any more benefit after that. But if you spend $2,000 buying a website that gets 10,000 uniques per month, you can collect that traffic month after month after month. You can grow that traffic month after month after month. And when you're done monetizing all this traffic, you can actually go back out there and sell the website and get your initial $2,000 back. Or maybe you've done really well in monetizing the website and now you can sell it for $4,000. So it's an incredibly attractive value proposition for those that are willing to take the time to learn it about this space. Search engine optimization. A lot of people, obviously are trying to rank high for different keywords because it's free traffic. If you're buying websites, often you're buying all the existing rankings that come along with it. I've seen people buy websites and just use those websites to link back to their own network of sites and pass through the page rank. I've seen people just do straight 301 redirects in order to get better rankings on Google. And with most website acquisitions, you're getting a lot of keyword-rich content that you're able to reuse. And in many cases, there's lots of low-hanging fruit. Most of the websites that we see sold on Flippa, for example, are using WordPress. But in 95% of all cases, those websites aren't using any of the SEO plugins that help optimize your blog. So just buying an existing WordPress blog, going through, putting in all the necessary SEO plugins, you can get very quick results in terms of growing traffic. Why aren't more people buying websites? The majority of people just don't know this opportunity exists. There's lots of books and ebooks and ClickBank products on email marketing and SEO and all these other topics. There's very, very little content out there about buying websites in order to monetize them. People are also afraid of buying websites because they don't know how to do the due diligence, and that's something I'm going to go into my presentation. But there are definitely risks associated. When you're buying a website, you're buying a business, and there's always potential for fraud. So it's important to know how to protect yourself before you go into this space. And finally, people aren't knowledgeable enough or they're just scared. They'd rather be buying clicks on Google for 20 cents a piece rather than buying a website outright. Where to buy websites? There's basically 3 different ways to go about it. You can go straight to the website owners, you can go through brokers, or you can go through a couple online marketplaces. One of my favorite places to hunt for websites for sale is dmoz.org. Dmoz, for those that don't know, is a directory that's curated by volunteer editors, and it's all categorized by topic. So you can go in there, find top websites about websites in your niche, and then contact those website owners to see if they're interested in selling. The great thing with DMOZ is if someone spent the time and effort in order to get listed on this directory, they usually spent a little bit of time building out their website as well, so there's a certain level of quality assurance as opposed to just randomly hunting around the web for websites for sale. One really good tip-off that website might be for sale is looking at the copyright footer and the last post date. If a website hasn't been updated in 6 months, a year, or 2 years, it's very likely that the seller will be open to any and all offers that come their way. In fact, they'd probably be thrilled to sell the website to you because they're tired of paying the monthly web hosting bills. When you're contacting website owners, you can just go through the contact form or try and do a whois search to find their contact details. If the whois database lists a phone number, sometimes that's a lot better than just emailing, because emails bounce or go ignored or get filtered into the spam folder. The one really, really big downside to this is your success rate will be really low. You could contact 20, 30, 40, 50 different website owners, only get a couple of responses back, and only make one deal, so it can be very time consuming. The other thing to keep in mind with this method is there's going to be a very long lag time. Just this morning I was checking my email and I got a reply from someone that I contacted like 4 months ago about buying their website. Now they're finally ready to sell, but when I contacted them 4 months ago, they weren't. So by going through this method, you're essentially putting a lot of seeds out there, and over time, some of those will come back to you in terms of potential deals that you can make. Website brokers, there's been an emergence of different companies and individuals who make a living and collect commission by brokering large deals. They typically work with 6-figure properties, meaning websites that are worth at least $100,000 or more, because otherwise there's not enough commission in it for them to make it worthwhile. There's 3 companies in particular that seem to be doing quite well in this space. One is Quiet Light Brokerage, the second one is We Sell Websites, and the third is websiteproperties.com. One thing to keep in mind with these brokers is once in a while they'll ask you to sign a non-disclosure agreement before they give you the details about the particular clients that they're representing. But you can still go on their website and get an idea as to what's on the market, what sort of valuations and asking prices exist, etc. One really good thing about this as well is you can get some really good ideas for your own businesses just by spying on what other people are doing. If you see a website in your niche being sold, the seller usually has to disclose a lot of information, such as how they're making money, how much money they're making, what their traffic is like, what are their traffic sources. And you can just go in there, steal all those ideas and apply them to your own businesses. And the same thing applies to all the websites being listed on flippa.com. I know many people just visit our marketplace just to see what sort of traffic sources people are using, where they're getting interesting link backs, so on and so forth. And finally, you can go to dedicated marketplaces or forums where people are going in there and specifically listing their websites for sale through an auction. Flippa is the biggest. There's websitebroker.com. You can also go to some of the more general marketplaces like bizbuysell.com, businesses for sale. And finally, there's a bunch of forums out there such as DN Forum and Digital Point, which has a very active for sale section. The only thing that sucks about most of these marketplaces is there's very little search and filtering capability. So you're going to spend a lot of time just going through the listings one by one, trying to find the ones that are worth spending additional time and effort on. But the good thing is you can find some real bargains out there, as I'll go into later. Evaluating websites for sale. You can use a whole bunch of third-party tools, some of which I'm going to list off. You do due diligence on the website itself, its traffic and revenue sources. And finally, you want to conduct due diligence on the seller. Who are you dealing with? Where are they? What's their history like? Has anyone complained about being scammed by them in the past? Here's a couple of my favorite tools for doing due diligence. A couple of these are for SEO research. My two favorite ones on here are Copyscape. Copyscape, for those that don't know, is a tool that basically will tell you whether or not the content is duplicated. If someone's selling you a website that's full of scraped and duplicate content that exists on 100 different other websites on the internet, you want to know that before you plunk down your hard-earned money. The second really interesting tool on here is the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine basically archives websites over time. It crawls a website every week or every month and takes a snapshot to see what it looked like at that period in time. If you're buying a website that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, you can go on the Wayback Machine and see what the website looked like. What has that domain being used for? Has this always been a car forum, or was this once a porn site, for example? You can also find out what sort of things the website owner has done to try and monetize the website in the past. For example, when someone is selling a website, they might not tell you that they've previously tried and failed using AdSense. But by using the Wayback Machine, seeing that they had AdSense ads on their site 6 months ago, you can find out and ask better questions. Doing due diligence on SEO and linkbacks is very important. This is just a case study on a random mortgage website that was sold on flippa.com. The site had 50 backlinks in Google, nothing too exciting. But when you actually did a search in Google to see where those links were coming from, you got some really interesting results. The first search result here is a music website. Why is a music website linking to a mortgage site? You have to ask yourself. You dig deeper and deeper, and you find out that the website owner has been spamming the comments basically to build their backlink profile. All well and good, but you have to be aware that you're buying this website. It's going to get penalized in the search engines at some point if it hasn't been already. So it's really important to know where the backlinks are coming from to the websites that you're buying. And are those backlinks going to remain valid and in place after you buy those websites? One thing that I've seen a couple of times is where the seller owns 30 or 40 different websites. They cross-link all the websites. They sell off one of those websites in their portfolio. As soon as the sale is completed, they pull down all the links to that website from the rest of their website properties. So you want to ask the seller whether they're doing any interlinking across their domain name portfolio and whether those links will remain in place after the purchase. Really important. Otherwise, you could be dropping from the first page of Google to the middle of nowhere very quickly, and you find yourself losing money. Couple other things to look for when buying websites. On flippa.com, we do something really cool, which is called verified Google Analytics. Basically, we ask the website owner to grant us access into their Google Analytics account. We go in there, we pull out all the data, and then post it publicly on our marketplace. The reason why we do this is because in the past, people have faked screenshots. Photoshop is very easy to use. People also have taken the statistics from one website they owned, changed the URL, and said this is what this website looks like. So it's really important to know that the traffic stats you're looking for are actually for the website that you're buying. Another really cool thing that you can do is you can check the robots.txt file. Robots.txt basically allows website owners to exclude certain pages from being indexed in Google. Sometimes you'll find some really interesting URLs listed in this file, and you can just find out more about their website and the website seller by seeing what sort of things they have on their domain name that they might not want to be getting indexed by Google. Walking through a site's revenue streams, one thing that many buyers do, especially on larger purchases, is they do a screen share through Skype or iChat or GoToMeeting or whatever, and they have the seller actually go through a live demo, logging into all the AdSense accounts, into the CJ accounts, and showing them all the numbers behind the website. It's still possible to fake, but it's a lot harder than just editing a JPEG file in Photoshop in order to fake revenue numbers. And finally, it's really important to understand all the factors that are driving this website's revenue and traffic. For example, I mentioned portfolio interlinking as being an important factor to look for, knowing where the backlinks are coming from. Is the seller doing any pay-per-view advertising in order to pump up the traffic before selling their website, so on and so forth. Another case study, this is an iCranks.com website. The seller was saying they made $350 in 14 days and claiming bulletproof earnings. However, if you went into the Google Analytics, this is what the traffic stats look like. The website was completely flat, getting almost no traffic until just before they listed the website for sale. That should be a really big warning flag. When you're looking at a site's traffic history, it's important to go back as far as possible and look at the long-term trend. In the vast majority of cases, when you're selling a website, you're trying to present yourself in the best possible light. So you'll take your best month of revenue, your best month of traffic, and you'll try and tell people that's the way it's always going to be. Well, it's bullshit. So it's important to look at the long-term traffic trends for websites. This is looking further into this iCranks website in Google Analytics. It has an 85% bounce rate. Really high. 85% of the people coming to this website are viewing a single page and then pissing off. 92% of the visits are first-time visitors. Big warning sign. No repeat traffic. And out of 15,000 visits to this website, 81% of those are direct type-in traffic. That's really suspicious. Direct type-in traffic is when someone's memorized your URL or bookmarked your site and types it in. It means you've basically developed a good brand name. But if you've developed a good brand name, then why would you have an 85% bounce rate? And why would 92% of your visitors be first-time visitors if it's mostly direct traffic? Huge warning sign there. And finally, if you look into the country list, something really important to do, something that many people don't look at, you see that most of the traffic is from Nepal. Huge warning sign. Where's your traffic coming from? It's great if you're buying a website with 100,000 unique visitors. It's less great if they're all coming from Bhutan or Tibet. And of those 15,000 page views to this website, 14,000 of those are to a single post about infrared lasers. Huge warning sign if all the traffic's coming to a single web page. In this case, it's most likely that this seller started buying a whole bunch of pay-per-view traffic just to pump up their listing before they sold it, and it's all fraudulent. So I wouldn't have bid on this website, but someone did. Finally, in terms of evaluating websites, besides looking at all the traffic numbers, the SEO profile, the analytics, the monetization methods, you want to know who you're dealing with on the other end. Oftentimes, it helps to have a conversation on Skype or on the phone. Even suggesting having a conversation on Skype or the phone can scare off many potential scammers. They'll try and avoid you or make excuses about time zone differences or their grandma being sick or whatever. Getting proof of identity. In many cases, people have asked for passport scans or even notarized documents when making larger purchases for websites. One of the things we provide on Flippa is actually a sales contract. So before you transfer the money to someone, you can have them sign a contract, and listing their identity, their address, having them, confirm in writing that everything they're disclosing as part of the listing is true and accurate. I always recommend Googling the seller's real name. You can often find a lot about them and their past history and dealings and whether people have had problems with them in the past. But you can also Google their username on Flippa. Many people, when they register for different websites or forums, have a particular nickname or handle that they use. And once someone has selected a nickname or a handle, they tend to reuse it over and over and over again on different services and different forums. So by Googling someone's handle, you can see what else they've been up to on the internet. Check their seller feedback, if there is any, and finally know why they are selling. Oftentimes people are selling because they have other priorities. People on Flippa often sell their websites because they want to go on vacation, pay for their kids' college education, buying a new car, whatever. Other people simply have dozens of websites in their portfolio and they just don't have enough time to manage all of them. So once in a while, they'll pluck a website out of their portfolio and list it for sale. But it's important to know the reasons why they are selling. And in many cases, you'll actually uncover a downward trend in revenue and traffic. That's something to keep in mind when you're placing your bids and deciding how much money you want to spend. And finally, some case studies about some of the awesome opportunities that exist on the Flippa marketplace. Just a couple of listings: PDF King, City of Mafia, HealthyNewscom. PDF King is a huge document library of free and open source PDF documents. This website was getting 1.2 million page views per month, 600,000 uniques, a lot of traffic. The owner of this website really sucked on monetizing. You can see a screenshot of their homepage there. There's not even a single ad unit on the page above the fold. Therefore, they're only making $1,500 a month, which is probably a fraction of what they should be making given all the traffic they get. And this website sold for only $11,000. $11,000 for 600,000 uniques. Even if all you do is put up a huge lead gen form on that homepage, you'll probably make $11,000 in a month or two. I mean, it's so cheap. Even if the traffic is untargeted, you can throw any offer out there. And with 600,000 uniques per month, something will stick, and you'll get a decent amount of revenue out of it. I mean, 2 cents per unique visitor. You can't buy traffic in India on Facebook for that. It's going to cost you more. It's an absolute bargain. City of Mafia, some multi-user online role-playing game. This guy gets 2 million page views per month. Very, very high engagement. This website sold for $16,000, less than 4 months profit. I mean, if you're able to take this website, increase revenue a little bit, you can get your money back in 2-3 months and be out, or flip the website. If you're able to double the revenue, you can go back on Flippa and sell it for $30,000 or $40,000. Just really, really quick. Another screenshot of their homepage. Again, no ads. Someone created something cool. They got lucky. They get traction and page views and visitors, but they have no real idea how to make money from it. Amazing opportunity for the right buyer. HealthyNewscom, some health lifestyle blog. If you know anything about the health lifestyle niche, 129,000 unique visitors per month is not that easy to get. That's quite valuable traffic. So a lot of affiliate offers that you can run on this website. I think in this case, the owner was just monetizing using AdSense. Didn't have any affiliate or CPA type offers on the site. And again, you're looking at a screenshot of the site. I can't see a single ad unit above the fold. They don't even have a 728 by 90 banner next to their logo. Just absolutely clueless. But a lot of content on this site, some good search engine rankings, etc. And this website sold for $2,000. What can you do with 129,000 unique visitors per month in the health niche to make more than $2,000? I can think of six things off the top of my head right now. I mean, it's fantastic, easy opportunity, just money for the taking. 4gtuner.com. Again, many people develop websites based out of a passion as opposed to a way to make an income and earn a living. This guy is passionate about Mitsubishi cars and tuning cars and improving horsepower, blah, blah, blah. He gets 160,000 page views per month from 20,000 unique visitors. These are hardcore enthusiasts, people who spend thousands and thousands of dollars buying aftermarket parts for their cars. And this website sold for only $3,400, 16 cents per monthly unique visitor. Again, this guy was doing basically nothing to monetize the website, doing no deals with any car parts companies, no sponsorships from car companies, absolutely nothing. Again, a screenshot of their homepage. I can't see a single ad unit above the fold. It's just free money for the taking. Someone had passion for Mitsubishi cars, built out a forum, got a large following, large members, but no way to monetize it. And I think this is my final case study here, so I'm going to leave lots of time for questions at the end. This is a popular architecture blog. This guy has 1,700 pieces of unique content, which would cost you a fortune to replicate. 100,000 unique visitors per month, 200,000 page views. Really, really valuable traffic, architects, architecture students, a lot of things in that niche that you could sell them. And this blog sold for $15,000. It was a page rank 5 site, over 200 backlinks, pretty good domain name, archycentral.com, nice design, absolutely nothing done around monetization, very little ads, etc., but a lot of great content. He had a whole stable of bloggers that were regularly contributing to the site, and he was even paying most of them, and that all came with a sale for $15,000. So let's just give you some of the ideas that exist on the open market. Obviously, not every single deal will get listed on a marketplace like Flippa. Sometimes you have to go out there and find those websites that have high search engine rankings but haven't been updated in a while. Find those DMOZ listed sites that have been abandoned a long time ago but are still gaining traffic and page views on an ongoing basis, etc. Couple further resources for you. We're offering $10 in Flippa credits on our website if you're creating a new account and use affiliate SUM as the code. We've also developed a really cool tool called the Keyword Ranking Report. So on Flippa.com, we have 1,000 listings in any given week, so 4,000 listings in any given month. Trying to go through all those websites one by one and trying to find the real gems in there can be really high. So with this keyword ranking report, we're going through all our listings and telling you which keywords the particular domain names have a high ranking for in the organic search results. And we actually sorted by keyword popularity as well. So if you're ranking number 5 for a keyword that gets searched 100,000 times per month, you'll show up near the top of this report. And you can sort and filter in all sorts of different ways. We also have a newsletter called the Flippa A-List, where we manually sort through all the listings in our marketplace and identify websites for over $10,000 that have high potential, meaning they have a lot of revenue, a lot of traffic, a lot of users, email lists, really good domain names, what have you. Again, this is just one tool to find those listings that you might otherwise skip over just because of the volume of information out there on the web. And this newsletter is completely free of charge, and we feature 7 to 10 different websites in there every single week. If you have any questions, you can go up here to the microphone, or you can email me or contact me over Twitter. But yeah, that's it for me. I think it's a really, really good time to be doing this. Over the next couple of years, I think the valuations on websites will be going up a lot. If you can buy a website, it gets 100,000 uniques for a couple $1,000s. I mean, it's a bargain of a lifetime. Eventually, other people will discover this and start bidding up the prices quite significantly. I think right now, buying and selling websites is where buying and selling domain names was back in 2001 and 2002. And who of us here doesn't wish they were back on the web in 2001, 2002, trying to buy as many domain names as possible? Then we have that same opportunity right now with websites. The analogy I always like to use is that domain names are like vacant land. It's like raw, undeveloped land, really hard to value, really hard to sell. But the websites that sit on top of those domain names are like rental apartments. They're much easier to value. You can apply valuation metrics such as multiples of earnings, multiples of revenue. You can get appraisals done. We're actually building out a pretty impressive valuation tool based on the $55 million in websites that we've sold on Flippa.com. So very soon you'll be able to come into Flippa, enter in the details for a website that you're interested in, and we'll tell you the range that it's worth or it should sell for on the Flippa marketplace based on all the historical data that we have. On that topic, I actually do have one last tip. One scam that I've seen a couple of times is there's all these free website valuation tools on the internet that basically crank out bullshit numbers saying Yahoo is worth $5 million and 99 Designs is worth $50,000 and all these things. And sometimes I've seen sellers try and use those fake valuation reports to try and pump up their asking price and inflate their asking price and try and trick some naive buyers into overpaying for a website. So whenever you're looking at website appraisal reports, it's really, really important to know what that data is based on. All of the free website valuation tools I've seen on the internet so far just look at backlinks and page rank, and then they try and calculate some random website value based off of that, which completely doesn't make sense because they don't even know how much the website is making or what niche the website is in or anything like that. So it's completely useless, which is why we're developing our own tool with a couple of PhDs out in Melbourne, Australia, who are able to do all the historical analysis on all our data and come up with some more accurate numbers, or at least an accurate range for website valuations. But again, I think valuations will start creeping up as more and more people discover this. And also newbies entering the market, rather than trying to build a website from scratch, they're probably all better buying a website for $1,000 or $2,000 and getting their feet wet that way. So we're going to see a lot of newbies entering the space as well and buying up some of these lower end websites that have a bit of traffic and content. Yeah, if there's any questions, please come up to the mic. We're recording, so. Any questions? Does anybody want to share any experiences in buying websites or any tips?
Hi, Matt. Thanks for speaking with us. Misha from San Diego. Where is the most ripe niche here? Because I know at a certain valuation point, you probably have bigger investors and people where the marketplace is more efficient. What range do you feel, price range in terms of acquisition price, is the ripe niche where the most opportunity is?
I think the most opportunity exists between like the $3,000 and $20,000 price range. You can buy some websites that get hundreds of thousands of unique visitors per month, some good content without overpaying. The valuations are really, really low, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. Once you get up into those six-figure websites and once you start working with some of those website brokers I mentioned earlier, the valuations creep up rather rapidly. Once you're buying a website for $500,000, you're not paying 2 times annual earnings, you're paying 4 times or 6 times annual earnings, just because you're dealing with a whole different set of buyers. So I think the sweet spot is under $20,000 right now.
And do you have any context in terms of at what point the more sophisticated buyers start to come in, like the private equity funds and those types of, is that over $1 million or?
With the terms of private equity, I think people start coming in around $250,000 or $500,000. There's some much more serious cashed up buyers in that space. The thing is, buying a website that makes $5,000 a month takes just as much time as buying a website that makes $50,000 a month. And if you're sitting on a huge stockpile of cash that you're trying to efficiently deploy, it's a lot easier to do it in large chunks rather than doing lots and lots of small deals if you have a lot of money in your pocket. But I think for most of us here, we're better off buying 3 websites for $10,000 each and diversifying a little bit and optimizing that way.
Okay, thanks.
So this question is specific to Flippa. So it's been a few months since I've been on Flippa. I noticed a lot of useful things on it, but one of the things that made it more difficult to find the really good sites is that there's a lot of turnkey or autopilot sites on there. Yep. One example, the only one I can remember off the top of my head, there's a lot of iPhone unlock sites, and it's someone will make the site, buy a lot of traffic to it, and they'll show some real revenue, they'll sell it, and then you'll notice that 2 months later they're putting on a very similar version, and they're basically repopulating it over and over again. Yep. So if you had bought the first one, you'd get screwed, and then The other category was all like those blogs, which are like basically like WP Robot. They just like quickly get traffic, and it's just like spammy stuff, but they have like real numbers, and it just blocks like all the other good deals. So like, is there something that you guys are doing to try to, remove those? I know you have a lot of filters and stuff, which helps get out of it. But is there anything like new that you guys have done to, try to like sideline those?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's an entire industry of people just creating websites for the sole purpose of selling them. And it's basically a race to the bottom. They're creating all these WordPress auto blogs with no traffic, no revenue. A year ago, those websites were being sold for $400 or $500. Now those websites are being sold for like $200. So it's an absolute race to the bottom. Who can develop these websites the quickest and the cheapest? Eventually, this market will just fall apart because it's not really sustainable. On Flippa.com, in the past 2 weeks, we rolled out a much, much better search functionality. It's much easier to use. If you go to the Flippa homepage, all the listings on there are people who have paid like a $99 upgrade fee to get listed on the homepage, so that automatically by default filters out all the blogs that are only going to sell for $150 because there would be no margin left in it for them. On our Just Sold tab, which is actually another really cool resource that I haven't mentioned, we have a Just Sold tab where you can actually see all the recent transactions and what the selling price was. So before you go in there and start bidding, it can be helpful to monitor the Just Sold tab for a couple of days or a couple of weeks to get an idea for valuations and what things are selling for. But yeah, on Flippa.com for the auto blog, we're just rolling out improved search functionality, trying to weed out those sites through more aggressive pricing so that the more serious sellers have a chance of standing out. We created the A-list newsletter to try and filter through and just pick the top cream of the crop listings every week, and deliver those straight to people's inboxes, so they're not having to sort through 1,500 auto blogs.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Ross with Click Interactive. I purchased a site probably 2 years ago on Flippa, and I was the winning bidder. The seller ended up selling the website to an interim buyer or another buyer besides me as the winner. And Flippa tried to charge me for winning the website, right? There's a commission fee or something. So I was actually blacklisted or removed from your website, and I tried to complain through your customer service channel.
Okay.
And they demanded payment, but I never obtained the website, completed payment.
Yeah. If you give me your business card, we can sort it out afterwards.
Hey, Matt, I just want to know if you have any questions for those of us who are maybe considering selling a website on Flippa for the first time, ways to attract quality buyers and how to beef up your profile. I'm sure a lot of the same information, but any tips for first-time sellers? Yeah,
as a first-time seller, I think I would be starting off with a relatively low minimum bid price to get activity happening, get people engaged in the process. If you're starting off with a $10,000, $20,000 minimum bid, there's a lot fewer people that will start bidding at that price point. But if you can get a whole bunch of people interested at $2,000 or $3,000, then they'll start competing against each other because they'll be afraid of losing. Same principle applies to eBay auctions. The other thing I would suggest is we allow auctions that are up to 30 days long. In most cases, that's absolute overkill. We found that less than 14 days is the ideal amount of time to run an auction for. After that, people just start getting disinterested. And definitely use all the available tools on Flippa to verify ownership of the domain name, verify your Google Analytics stats, make sure you're tagging your auction properly so that people can find it. And during the last couple hours of your auction, I would be buying the featured upgrade to get listed on the Flippa homepage, because there's a lot of people that just look at the listings on the homepage when deciding what to bid on.
All right,
one other tip, and we don't share this often, is you can actually set your auctions to manually approve each bidder. So rather than auto-approving each bid, you can have it set up so that you can talk to the bidder before you approve their bid and have it entered into their system. And on Flippa.com, we have this view or filter that shows you the most active auctions on our marketplace. A lot of buyers are just looking at what are the most active auctions. Those are probably the most interesting websites to buy. And a quick way to get listed on that active auctions filter is to wait until you have a bunch of bids pending approval. Then you go in there and approve 3, 4, 5 bids all at once in one swell swoop, and then you'll show up on the most active filter on Flippa, That can bring a lot more attention, a lot more people into your auction that otherwise might not have seen it.
I'm at Fahad Khan from Reply.com. Quick question around revenue optimization. So I think one of the case studies you showed was PDF King, for example.
Yes.
And one of the issues was that they weren't putting up ads above the fold. And you said something along the lines that it didn't matter what you put up, it just puts something up, whether it's a lead gen form or an ad or something.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what is, it's probably a subjective question, but what is a good testing period to try out different offers? Is it a certain monthly unique count that you want to hit to see, okay, this ad performed better than this ad, or is it, like a week? Or what's your personal take on it?
You basically want to get to statistical significance. So in most cases, you want to look at the number of actions that happen in each monetization medium, the number of clicks or the number of leads submitted, and you want to make sure there's enough of a difference between the numbers to make it statistically significant. If you're running 2 lead gen offers, one gets 28 submits, the other one gets 30 submits, that's not statistically significant. You'll need a huge sample size before you can be confident. But as a general rule of thumb, you want to get 10,000 page views for an offer before you get a decent idea as to how it's going to perform.
Oh, hi, Matt.
Yo.
I enjoyed the presentation a lot. The question I had was, what happens on some of these big sites like PDF King? There's a lot of infrastructure that supports all showing PDFs.
Yep.
So how about servers and things? How do you translate that to the, like if I buy PDF King and I find out that the hosting costs me $10,000 a
Yep.
month?
We ask the sellers to disclose their expenses for running a website as part of their auction listing. So you definitely want to, maybe request copies of their last couple of invoices before you submit a bid. One thing that I should actually mention in terms of expenses, people never list their own time as an expense. If they're selling a website that takes them 20 hours a week to run, they'll still say it's profitable, even though they're worried because they don't value their own time at zero. So it's really important to also ask how much upkeep is involved in a website, because that can greatly affect your profit. But in terms of transferring hosting, what most people do is they share the login details for their web hosting account. Someone would give you their HostGator login password. You'd go in there, you'd change it over to your credit card details, then you'd change the password and the account is yours and the website is yours. And that way you don't have to deal with transferring files, and that's usually when things really get broken and messed up, when you're dealing with databases or larger volume of files. So it's usually just easiest to transfer over the web hosting account ownership as opposed to trying to actually physically move hosts. If you do want to physically move hosts, I'd transfer over the account first, make sure everything's running smoothly, and then at a later stage, as a second step, switch web hosting to Amazon Web Services or Rackspace or what have you.
So this would be before you purchase the site and you're on Skype and you're doing kind of a screen share and you could see it at that point. Then.
Yeah, you'd say, can you please log into your
Okay.
hosting account and show me how much you're paying per month? And then get them to agree just to transfer ownership of that account as part of the sale process, as opposed to just emailing you a PDF file with hundreds of thousands of files and MySQL databases, and you having to try and get that working on your server, which can be really, really messy.
Great, thanks.
This is on selling your website. It's a little hard sometimes when you're evaluating a buyer, because you don't know, you have the plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's hard to know. Just one thing that I would like is more verification on premium buyers, to know a little bit more. I know you have like are you able to bid 5,000 or 10,000 or something like that? Just so I could see that.
Yeah, we have a new
buyers.
thing. Yeah, we have a new feature in the past couple of weeks where I think if you're bidding above $5,000, we pre-authorize the bidder's credit card, and that's just a way of filtering out the riffraff and trying to make sure people are a little bit more serious, trying to verify their identity, because then we have a name on the credit card and a billing address. So that's been quite effective. One other really cool thing that we have for like super premium website sellers is you can do basically an anonymous auction where you require people to sign an NDA before you disclose the URL of your website for sale. And that's something that's come up again and again over the last 2 years. People have large websites and large communities, and they don't necessarily want the entire world to know that they are for sale, because that could actually lower the value of that asset. So on Flippa, you can now do these private auctions where potential bidders have to sign an NDA before they know the URL of a website for sale. And we found those auctions to be incredibly successful, and those usually end up in sales of 6 figures and higher.
Okay, thanks. Also, I'll put in a suggestion if you're selling a website. Best way to get a lot of bids and to jack up the price, start it at no reserve, because then more people are bidding on it.
Yep, very good tip. And one thing that happens as well whenever you're running an auction is you'll have a lot of prospective bidders asking you about your reserve price, which I always find very, very odd. Your reserve price should be a secret. You want people bidding even before hitting the reserve price and get them engaged in the process. So if you're holding an auction and selling and people start asking you what your reserve price is, you should just refuse to answer that question and encourage them to submit their best offer and get them started in the process.
Hi, I had a quick question about maintaining value for the buyer and still maintaining a high closing price for myself. In the last 6 months, I've noticed, as you said, a lot of people go in just to do due diligence or anything else. For example, they're seeing that a keyword gets X amount of traffic. I'm making $1,200 a month via AdSense. Is there any way to protect the buyer from having a lot of copycats trying to outrank them as soon as I sell them the site?
Unfortunately, there's nothing you could do, right? Someone can always find your website on Google, see that you're ranking high, and try and copy you. And that is a big downside, because on Flippa, you're also disclosing your revenue, and you're showing how profitable particular keywords or niches are. But yeah, it's an open market. There's not much you can do to stop copying, unfortunately. If you have a really valuable website, then I would encourage you to use the private listing function so that your URL is hidden and not publicly disclosed until people sign an NDA, and that way you can approve people manually and only have a couple dozen people looking at your auction as opposed to hundreds or thousands.
For mid-range prices, let's say between $5,000 and $20,000, do you find that adding the NDA requirement drops the end closing price?
I don't think we've had people add NDAs for websites in that price range. No, it tends to be 6 figures and higher.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? One more?
Hello, I'm Klaas Joosten. I have a question. I've got just an example what you put on my computer, links.com. They have a website, it's quite a good name. What do you think of these types of websites? They ask 1 million euros or dollars for the website. How would you tackle this problem to evaluate their due diligence? How would you tackle this?
Well, links.com is obviously a very premium domain name. I mean, the domain name alone without any traffic or content to it is probably worth a couple $100,000 as a minimum. If you're the seller of that domain name, obviously the best way to realize the maximum value is to use a business broker or hold an auction and get offers from multiple interested parties. You only need 2 interested parties bidding to find out what the maximum price is. But as a buyer, I mean, it depends what the seller's motivations are. If they're making thousands of dollars per month and they have no interest in selling, they'll give you a weird number like $1 million, and there's not much you can do to discourage them from that. If they're not interested in selling, they're not interested in selling. I think the key with this entire thing is to find people who are motivated sellers, to find those people who are going into foreclosure, so to speak, and need money fast. And you can come in there and swoop in and buy these websites for 2 cents per monthly unique. But yeah, it can be tough. I'd probably use a lawyer or a third party when trying to buy a website of that size or that magnitude. And now you're sort of, you have a third party acting on your behalf, and it also shows that you're much more serious.
For a buyer making money through affiliate AdSense, how do you define a correct price? Monthly income, yearly income by times X, or what's your advice?
Generally, you're looking for about a year's worth of revenue. The really important things that would factor into the final price is the historical revenue. If you've only been making $1,000 per month for 1 month, that's not worth a lot. If
No,
you're making
for 1 year or
$1,000
more.
per month for
Yeah.
a year, then obviously it's worth a lot more. If you have a really long track record, you can get into those higher multiples where you're getting 18 months, 2 years, even 3 years worth of revenue for your website. The traffic sources are really important as well. If you have a lot of good, links to your site, some good organic rankings, that's important. Content, original content is important, and also the upkeep and maintenance of a website. If you're spending 20 hours a week on it, then that can reduce your asking price. But if you've got a whole bunch of contractors that are doing the work for $5 or $10 an hour, then that's a different story altogether.
Hello. I would like you to address the affiliate nexus and the impact it may have on websites that are profitable and doing well. Have you seen that as different states in the U.S. have enacted legislation which has kicked out affiliates, have you found an influx of viable U.S.-based businesses that are suddenly at a fire sale price? And if so, how do people who are located in states like Delaware, which has no tax, how could we possibly capitalize on this?
It's a very good question. I've actually seen a couple of auctions in the last couple of weeks where people are selling really viable, profitable businesses, and they're basically being forced to sell because they're in California, for example, and their number one source of traffic, number one source of revenue is cutting them off. So definitely, if you're in a state like Delaware, you're a huge advantage over Californians, for example. I think Amazon cut off a couple 100,000 affiliates in Amazon. Zappos and all these other programs are doing very similar things. I think it's very, very disruptive to the industry. We don't have a search functionality for affiliate nexus tags as a reason for selling, unfortunately. But yeah, I'd just be looking at high revenue websites, try and filter for websites that are making $1,000 or $2,000 per month, and just see what pops up there. They're not necessarily going to be discounted over other businesses, but obviously the pool of potential buyers is going to be a bit smaller, so perhaps you'll have less competition when you're bidding on these types of businesses. But yeah, it's definitely creates opportunity for the right types of buyers. Good question. Anything else? One more?
Yeah, you gave some great tips for finding red flags in terms of analytics data. I guess another thing a lot of sellers might do is try to make their operating expense or time commitment look a lot lower than it really is. What are some red flags to look for there?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The vast majority of people will underestimate the time and expenses involved in running their website. They'll disclose their hosting costs, they'll disclose those type of things, but they won't tell you that they're spending 20 hours a week maintaining their website. So you just have to really ask those tough questions and find out what's involved in running the website. If it's a forum, for example, who's doing the moderation? If it's a blog, who's providing the content? And if they're providing content, what format is the content provided in? Do the bloggers have direct access to WordPress, or are they just sending Microsoft Word documents to the website owner, and then the website owner has to go in there and format it all out and input it, create all the images, etc. So obviously you have to look at the type of website that you're buying. If it's an e-commerce website, is there inventory? Where is the inventory stored? Who's shipping it? Who's doing the customer support? If there's an 800 number on the website, who's answering those phone calls? What are the costs involved in that? Etc. Yeah, it's tough. I definitely have the seller sort of sign an agreement in those types of instances, a contract, disclosing everything and putting their signature on it before you send them money. One last question in the back, and then we can break for lunch.
What happens if after doing all of that, the bloke blatantly lies and you only find out after you have purchased the site? What recourse do you have? And have you got any examples of a case that happened?
I just sent someone to jail for 16 weeks in the UK for fraud. It was a court case. It took like 3 years to get them into jail. It was a very, very long, drawn-out process, but someone actually filed a criminal complaint against a seller for fraud, and there were witnesses, and we provided written testimony, etc. they pleaded guilty to 3 charges of fraud, and they're sitting in a jail somewhere in the UK right now. Definitely get a signed contract. If you're doing a large sale, use a service like escrow.com to transfer the money. One common scam is actually doing credit card chargebacks or doing PayPal disputes. If you're buying a website and paying via PayPal and there's a dispute, PayPal will always rule against you because it's a digital good and there's no tracking or shipping number. One way to get around that, for example, would be to ship a CD with a tracking number to the buyer, and that way you have some defense if PayPal comes after you at some point because the buyer disputes the charge and says they never bought it from you after the sale is completed. So that's another thing to watch out for. But anything over like $500 or $1,000, I'd be using a service like escrow.com to transfer the money and get a written contract. If it's a really big sale, get them to even go to a local notary and have the contract notarized. The scammers won't go out of their way to commit fraud on that level in the vast majority of cases. We're all out of time, but let's break for lunch, and if anyone has any further questions, we can chat. Thanks.